Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Friday Live. This is Fiona Lukes coming to you live like I do every Friday at approximately this time. So, welcome. This is Friday, July the 15th, and we are pretty much halfway through the year. Can you believe that? It blows my mind how quickly this year is going, and and I'm amazed at how many of you are reaching out to me and telling me how much what I'm sharing with you is resonating and making a difference. So, for those of you who have reached out to me and shared that with me, I really want to thank you for that. It makes it really helps me to know that what I'm saying, what I'm sharing with you is resonating and helping. So, if you are out there and you're listening and you do find this helpful, please let me know, because then it helps me to know what to speak to and whether what I'm speaking to is relevant and helpful to you. Okay. And you are the only ones who can give me the feedback on that. So I really appreciate getting feedback and people sharing that with me. So welcome everybody to Friday, the 15th of July. And hey, Daryl, hello. Thank you for saying hi. Welcome, welcome. Nice to see your name on the screen, Daryl. So if you have just tuned in, as always, please say hello. I always like to know where people are and where you're listening from and where you are in the world. Always like to know that. So please say hi. It's good for me to know that there are people actually listening. It's very weird sitting here talking to yourself on a screen and just hoping that something of what you're saying is making a difference and landing out there. So yeah, if you can, if you are just tuned in, please say hi. I'd really appreciate it. And these Friday lives are very much an organic thing where I just show up to whatever is relevant and true for me in the world. And hey, darling, I know, yes, I'm looking forward to speaking to you too. Absolutely. Hey, Karen, thanks for saying hi. So, these are very much organic things where it's really just about where can I be of service? How can I help? What difference can I make? So if you have a question, if there's something on your mind about life, relationships, I've been working in this space for many years now, and I've done many thousands of hours of. I ran about, I don't know, I've lost track. It's somewhere around the 15,000 hour mark with clients. So I have a lot of experience. I don't say this to big note myself, but just to say that chances are your question is something that I have dealt with in my work before or seen. So, and a question that you have will be incredibly helpful to anybody else who is listening. So if you have a question, don't be shy. Feel free to ask. I cannot tell you the amount of people that come to me and say, oh my goodness, that person's question last week was exactly what I wanted to hear. We are so much more connected than we understand. And your question will be on the mind of many other people. Hello, Trish. Hi. Thanks for saying hi from New Zealand. Lovely part of the world New Zealand is. Welcome. So anyone else who wants to say hi to me, please feel free to do so. And yeah, if you've got a question, post it below. So I thought today there's a bit of a theme that's come up, and that's what I tend to do in these lives is if there's a theme that's come up in my one-on-one private work, in my consulting work, or with the students in my relatable program on the group calls that we have with each other twice a week, there's generally a theme or a flavor that I see, and if I see a theme or a flavor, then I know that generally that's something that's going to be impacting other people. Sorry, I just had lunch really quickly before I got on here. My apologies, and I don't think I let that digest properly. So what has been the theme that's come across this week that I've seen in my one-on-one work, especially, and in some of the calls with my relatable students is, this whole thing around separate realities and people really not understanding what that actually means and how that plays out in our relationships. And so often what happens when you don't have an understanding of this, and I want to talk about it a little bit more today. I do talk about it quite a bit in my ebook. For those of you who have bought my ebooks, you might find that helpful because I'm expanding on that. Hey, Vidya. Hi, darling. Thank you for joining this live today. So lovely to see you, honey, as always. I wanted to talk a little bit about separate realities because I've had a few of these comments come across my desk or in my Zoom chats, whatever, with people, and that is, I don't understand, and this has come up a few times. So I think there'll be someone who'll probably relate to what I'm saying, is that you might be in a relationship with someone who is struggling personally. Okay, maybe they're worried about something that's going on at work, or maybe they're worried about what's going on in the world, or they're in other words, they're thinking and they're over struggling, or maybe they're thinking a lot about their past. And so they're going back to their past a lot and saying, because of this, I feel this, and I'm struggling with this, and so there's quite a bit of that going on. Okay, now this is very common. All right, very, very common. Wow, Daryl. Okay, sorry, I just got distracted. I have a new relationship I'm pursuing, known her for 10 years, feels so right, and I feel so light in our space. It goes both ways. Wow, but she is married and wants out apart from patience. Oh, yes, lots and lots of patience and holding of space there required, Daryl. Okay, lots and lots of patience, which is good for you and good for her, but you're going to have to hold space there so that you don't push too hard. Okay, be really important just to make sure that you are a safe space for her to go hang out, and that she doesn't feel pressured because she's already going to be dealing with a lot of stuff at home. So you want to make sure that there's a lovely contrast with you. Okay, really nice contrast for her to come back to, relax in, unwind in, that allows her to feel safe, allows her to be her, where you can build some lovely goodwill and connection. So yeah, slow it down, slow your mind down, all of those things that you and I have talked about before, and hold some lovely space. If you do that, you'll be absolutely fine. Okay, but a lot of us aren't so great at doing that, and our mind speeds up and we push innocently, and then things can kind of blow up. So yep, slow it down, space, slow yourself down, hold space. Such a rare thing in this world, and that's a very big part of what's come up in my client work this week, is teaching people how to hold space, because we get scared of that. We find holding space really scary, and we don't understand the absolute sheer power of it and how unbelievably rare it is. Like, honestly, guys, so rare, because without realizing it, okay, we are innocently pushing our own agenda all the time. We are pushing our own agenda constantly, and we don't understand why things start blowing up around us. Okay, you have got to know the flavor that you're bringing. You've got to have a really good understanding of yourself. Okay, so that you know how you are showing up and in what way you are showing up. Okay, I cannot stress to you how important this is. And this is something people don't appreciate enough, people don't understand enough. And so we innocently create havoc. But when people have that understanding, and it's a massive part of what I teach, they know exactly where they are. They're able to hold space beautifully. They're able to show up the way they really want to. And they actually are way more empowered in the way they communicate, in the way they connect, in the way they love other people, in the way they listen. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on. And that doesn't just ripple out at home. This ripples out into businesses. I've had people, I work with a lot of people who are business owners, and I teach them this understanding, and a lot of them, I was actually just speaking to a lady earlier today who said, Fiona, I am working less hours than I've ever worked in my life, and I'm making more money because of this understanding. I am not working myself to the bone the way I used to, and stressing and worrying. I'm really, now that I understand how things work, I'm working nowhere near as hard, and things are flowing a lot more easily, which means I've got more energy and I'm making more money. Okay. So, it's so interesting. We really have this misunderstanding of the way we think things work, and we often are working innocently against ourselves in our relationships, in life, in the flow of things. Okay, so when you understand that, you start to let go, which is a very good thing for us all, and our mind slows down, our thinking slows down. We find life infinitely easier, lighter, freer, all of those sorts of things. And then we start to see the ripple effect of that out there around us. It is quite extraordinary. And I feel very privileged that I get to see that each and every day with my clients and with the students in my work, as they realize that for themselves. And to me, that is all about teaching you how to fish rather than telling you what to do, which is just giving you fish. So that is, that's not my style. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I don't know better than you. You know better than you, right? You know what's best for you, I should say, not me. But I will point you in a direction where you can get really in touch with that, get a good sense of you and that knowing, and you can draw from it again and again and again as you go out and live your life, okay? And deal with whatever life throws your way. I love this. You guys are all having a chat here, the men. I love it. Hey, Brian. Space, mate. Yes, absolutely. Spoken like a true Aussie. I love it. Hello, Nick. Hi, welcome. Thanks for being here. Oh, Brian, thank you for being so welcoming. I love that. I love that you guys are having a little chat on the side. Yes, the reflection modules and relatable are awesome for that. Absolutely. So I'm going to get back to where I was. Let me come back to where I was when I got so beautifully distracted. And for those of you who've just tuned in, please feel free to say hi. And if you have a question, post it below, and I will absolutely answer that for you. Okay, or I will do my best anyway. And I love the fact that everyone's chatting away on the chat here. It's so lovely. Anyway, I'll stop making this about me and come back to what I was meant to be doing, which is being of service to you guys. So one of the things that have come up for me a lot this week, and is when we don't understand separate realities, what can often happen, and you are working with someone who has maybe they've got a lot of thinking about the past, or they're worried, or they're stuck and they can't get past it. And maybe you're someone who doesn't understand that. Right? Maybe you're someone who's like, I don't understand the problem. Just don't think about it so much, and it'll be fine. Like, just get on with it. I've heard this I've started working with a few new clients this week, and this has been a bit of a theme. I don't get, my partner does this, and they worry, and they do this, and I just sort of say, I don't get it. Just get on with it. You're like, and they think that I'm not listening, and that I don't have their back, and I don't care, and that I'm really cold, and it's not what I'm meaning to do at all. It's just that it doesn't make sense to me. And so I've had lots and lots of chats about separate realities and understanding that and what that looks like, okay, and why you must have an understanding of separate realities when it comes to, and that's just one piece of the puzzle of doing relationships really, really well, okay, because nobody sees the world the way you see the world. Nobody, ever, 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 ever. Your reality is as unique to you as your fingerprint, okay? That's how unique it is. But we constantly work off this assumption that my partner, my kids, my work colleague, etc., can see what I can see. So therefore are experiencing what I'm experiencing. And so then we work out of the innocent misunderstanding, right? We work out of the innocent misunderstanding that, oh, they don't care. They're just being selfish. They're this, they're that, because you're assuming that they can see what you can see. And therefore they're making decisions based on exactly what you can see. It just doesn't work that way. And the biggest mistake I see people making is when they're in a conversation with someone, they are speaking to their own reality only. They're not speaking to the other person's. How can you, first of all, if you don't even know they're in a separate reality to you, right? But people are speaking to their own reality. And so they can be trying really hard, saying all the right words, being really careful, and they think they're being loving and kind and open, and it gets them nowhere. Because if you are only speaking to your reality, the other person will have no idea of what you're talking about. They'll be like, they'll say things to you like, you're not listening. And you'll be like, but I am listening. I'm really listening. But of course, sometimes what we don't realize is what we're listening to is our own reality. We're not listening to the other person's, and we're not listening for the other person's. Okay, so I often see people that are in a conversation. I was using an analogy this week of two people in a fish tank, okay, who don't know, they think they're in the same tank, but they're in two separate tanks. And so they're speaking away, but the glass is bouncing back what they're saying, what they're seeing, and the other person can't hear them. And so they're saying something and it's bouncing back on them. And it's like they're in two separate tanks and that they don't realize it. I see this happening all the time. And this is why you can have a conversation and it can feel like the conversation goes like this, okay, where there's no meeting of the minds, there's no crossover, there's no connection. It's because you have literally got two separate realities going on. Neither one understands the other. Neither one realizes there's another reality out there. They're both speaking to their own reality. And it's like, I don't even understand a word you're saying. Now, separate realities becomes more and more of a problem as goodwill drops. And as goodwill drops, people take things personally. They overthink. They get more and more entrenched in their reality. They get more and more married to their thinking. Their world shrinks. And as that happens, the whole separate realities thing becomes this. They get to this point where it's like, I don't even know who you are anymore. Okay. And then we overcompensate. We rush in to try and fix things because we feel so uncomfortable. And, we're like an elephant in a china shop, just crashing around everywhere, breaking everything, not meaning to, okay? Not meaning to, but this is what ends up happening. And so, this is why I keep saying the leverage point for change is understanding. It's not the doing, okay? It's the understanding that generates the doing. If you're just focused on doing with no understanding, then you will be like the elephant in a china shop and not understanding why, trying really, really, really hard, doing everything you think you can, and wondering why everything's getting worse, okay? Because you're not having the understanding to back up what you're doing. See, an elephant going into a china shop that has no understanding of China will just crush everything and, move around and crush everything and not know why. An elephant going into a china shop that does have an understanding of China will be a lot more mindful of where they are, will be a lot more mindful of where they put their feet, how they move their head. And this is what we need to learn, okay? You need the understanding, which is what fuels, generates, inspires, leverages the doing. Okay? This is very, very important. So I'm teaching you a piece of that today. I'm talking to you about separate realities. You have to understand nobody sees the world the way you do. Nobody. Nobody. Now, why does that matter? Well, here's the thing. We operate off this assumption that everyone can see what we can see. Then we get mad when people don't make the choices, the same choices as us, or don't think of the same things as us, or don't respond in the same way as us. And we assume, that they can see what you can see. They're having your experience, but they're not. And so you've got to understand that there is no such thing as one reality or the reality, okay? There isn't. There is just unlimited versions of this out in the world. There's millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of them. But we get so fixated on our own that we think that our reality, and this is all very innocent, is the reality or the better reality. And so what we are turning around saying is, my reality is better than yours. You should do things my way. Okay? Now, we don't realize this at the time, but that's supremely arrogant. Okay? Supremely arrogant. And that's where we end up saying things that can seem a bit tone deaf. Okay? Like, I don't know what your problem is. Just don't worry about it. Just get on with it. Just be happy. Feel good, right? So, and of course, because in our reality, you just get over stuff. You don't think about stuff too much. You just move on, don't you? Right? I mean, that's what everyone does, isn't it? It makes no sense to me. But of course, the other person's in a completely different reality to you. So when you say something like that, it has no meaning. It feels like they're being patronized. It feels like they're not being understood. It feels like no one's listening. And so they get really upset. And you sit back thinking, I don't understand what just happened. I thought I was being helpful. Isn't that helpful? It would be helpful if someone did that for me. And it's like, this is where the misunderstanding of separate realities comes in. Yes, it would be if the other person was in your reality, but they're not. Okay. And what's happening is you're not in theirs. So you've got to know how to step inside someone's reality so you know what to speak to. Okay, this is very important in any and every relationship, no matter what it is, whether you're a business owner dealing with staff, whether you're a parent dealing with children, whether you're in a partnership with someone, if you are dealing with a family member, you have to know how to do that, right? You've got to understand this stuff so you know where you are and what you're speaking to. People who know this have see the most extraordinary change in their lives and in their relationships. Okay, extraordinary. Okay, I'm going to check some of these comments. Video, the being is increasing and the questions are falling away. Nice. Good for you, honey. Love it. Brian, did he not know you're a human tank? You are a human tank, Daryl, in a good way. Aim. Hi, Aim. Having a really hard time in my marriage, 28 years, these last 3 weeks with lots of silent treatment. And when I try to approach calmly, I end up sabotaging and regretting opening my mouth. Okay. All right. Brian, I'd highly recommend Fiona's course. There is a lot of members in this situation and they are having amazing changes as they learn the understanding. The way you write this shows you'll learn the understanding fast. You're in a great place. Awesome. Thanks, Brian. Thank you. Yep, my husband says I need to be right, but I swear I don't. Yep, the old trying to be helpful. Yeah. Okay. It's really, really important, Aim, if you're getting that feedback, okay? If you're getting that feedback, then I'm telling you what you're doing is coming in with your reality and trying to impose it on him. And I say that with love. I don't say that from a place of criticism, okay? This is me trying to help. But that will absolutely be happening. And so what's happening is you're not stepping into his reality. You're not being present. You're not listening. You're not holding space. All the things that I teach. And so he's just getting frustrated and shutting down. I'm going to guess something like that is going on. That's the pattern here, okay? Because he's just frustrated. And this is what happens. People give up. They go, "What's the point of me speaking? She's not going to listen, or he's not going to listen, or they're not going to listen. So what's the point?" And they move into that resignation phase where they just shut down and withdraw. Now, I'm not saying that's okay, but you got to know there's always a reason why these things happen. And what you want to be looking for is the understanding around how come. Okay. And you'll realize that you have a lot more influence and power over that than you can ever possibly imagine. And as you see that, that will help you, right? That will help you know how to show up differently the next time so that you can actually connect with each other and create that goodwill and feel like there's a meeting of the minds. Very important to know how to have a meeting of the minds with someone. Okay. So this is very, very, very important. And yeah, great. I'm glad to know that was helpful for you, Aim. Awesome. Hi, Rose. Hello, darling. Thanks for saying hi. Nice to see you. It's so nice to see you. Okay, so I'm just going to check in on with everybody. Is this making sense what I'm saying? Can you see how this could be happening in your life? Could you see how this could be happening in some of your relationships? Can you see how what I see so much is people speaking to their own reality and then putting that on top of somebody else and not having any understanding of where the other person's reality is? And I know, and that's not your fault, but this is what happens when people don't understand separate realities. Okay. We just got no understanding of it. So it's very, very, very important. You know, whenever I'm in a point where I think my reality is better than another, I know I'm in my ego, because that's an illusion. That does not exist. Okay. If you're ever thinking that you know better, you're better, mine's better, you're in your ego mind. And if you're in your ego mind, you are not connected, you're not present, you're not listening. You know, our ego mind gets very judgy and rigid and wants to be right and wants to win and goes into a completely different space that will not help that situation. It will just exacerbate it. Okay. Gabrielle, hello, darling. Hi. Thanks for saying hi. Nice to see you. I haven't seen you for ages. I hope all is well with you and your family. I really, really do. Nice to see you, honey. Hey, Roz. Hi, Fiona, with tears still rolling. I know, darling. Just be patient and kind with yourself, okay? This will pass. It really, really will. I promise you it will. Brian, yep. Sorry for flooding comments. I've stopped for lunch for a change. Damn, I love the lives. Thanks, Brian. Oh, you're so funny. Oh, hey, Vidya. The coaching you gave me yesterday was stellar. I realized after I called that I've been taking things personally instead of holding space for my partner to be himself in some situations. I was able to shift that after I called, just with the realization that I can easily remain objective professionally. So it should be easy in my personal situation as well. Thank you. Oh, my pleasure, darling. I'm so glad that was so helpful. That's awesome. Gab, I need to see you. Okay, well, you know where I am, honey. You know how to find me. I haven't gone anywhere. Reach out anytime, darling. Okay, so just checking in. Is what I'm saying helpful? Can you see where that may be happening in your life? Because, you know, there's a few key elements that I teach. Okay, and it's not about the differences between men and women. It's not about personality types. It's not about date nights. That's the doing stuff. Remember I was saying before that the doing is not helpful unless you have the understanding that generates that creates leverage around that. Okay. If you're just doing without understanding, you'll run out of steam pretty quickly, especially if you have an agenda around how the other person should be, or if you have an agenda around what the other person should be saying, doing, responding. Okay. So if you have an agenda and you're just focused on doing, you will run out of steam because you will quickly become resentful. You will quickly feel as though you're doing more than the other person. You will quickly feel as though they don't care enough. You'll start comparing. You'll end up in competition with each other. Okay. Sound familiar? I hear this a lot with new clients and new students in Relatable. People end up in competition with each other. And that's where that comes from. All right. Because the understanding isn't there as the generator, as the leverage point to help you move forward, to enable you to show up the way you really want to, the way that you to be present, listen, connect, etc., all of those sorts of things. All right. So a lot of people talk to me about how, but Fiona, how do I do this? How do I do that? And all that tells me is you need a deeper understanding, because the understanding is what gives you the how. Okay. The understanding is what gives you the how, the understanding of how we work, the understanding of the shared humanness between people, the understanding that we all work the same way, the understanding of the psychological immune system of a human being, right? That understanding becomes the leverage point for every single thing. And I utilize this in every aspect of my life: how I parent, how I connect with my husband, how I run my business, the decisions I make around the food that I eat, and how I run my life, and all sorts of things. I draw from this in many, many, many ways. And it has been the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. So remember, the doing on its own without an understanding is not enough. It's not sustainable. We're looking at long-term sustainable change. We're looking at you understanding this so that you know how to fish again and again and again. You're not relying on someone giving you fish. Okay? So it means that as you move forward in your life, you will be able to handle any and every situation that comes your way. This is what I want for everybody. This is how we create a society of resilient people, compassionate people, understanding people who are more focused on the greater good than just themselves. And we need this more than anything in the world right now. We're at a critical point with humanity where there's been so long the focus has been on the me and not on the we. There needs to be a heck of a lot more focus on the we, and we need people waking up in the world to see that. We need people realizing, okay? We need people feeling empowered. We need people feeling great about themselves, happy in their relationships, because all of that helps create connection and ripples that then lift the entire greater good. Now, I know some of you have heard me say this before, but that's the game I'm playing. That's what I'm up to in life. Okay. So when I teach you this understanding, when I'm doing these lives, when I run my podcast, when I'm in my personal work, that is my big why. It's because I know how powerful you are. You just don't know it yet. And when a human being wakes up to their own power and they stand in it, and then that ripples out everywhere, you will touch many, many, many lives more than you can ever possibly imagine. And that just grows, right? They touch more lives, and it reaches everywhere. Now, this is the power everybody has. This is to me what's on offer. Now, I'm not saying everyone has to be coming from that place and see that, but that's the game I'm playing. All right? I help empower you. You help empower the next person, the next person, the next person, the next person, simply because you start to glow. You know who you are. You're grounded. You're present. You're not leading with your insecurities so much. You bring understanding instead of judgment. You're more patient. You're more expansive. You reach out to people. You have people feel good around you, which helps them feel good around others. It's that whole paying it forward. You know how you hear stories of people who buy someone a coffee and then they buy someone else and they buy someone else. You can do that energetically. That's what's on offer here, right? You do that energetically, because as your energy changes, as you become more expansive, as you do all that, you just ripple that out everywhere. You realize that you're paying it forward as you walk down the street. That's the game I'm playing, okay? And this is why I speak in sometimes intangible terms, because I want you to know how to fish. It's not good enough for me that I'm giving you fish. That's like low ball stuff. That's not what I want. That's not the game I want to play. That's why I don't have these step by step. Step 1, do this. Step 2, step 3. That's a low ball game in my mind. right? Because what happens when you run out of steps? Then what? You go looking for more steps instead of reaching out and knowing how to fish. So it's understanding that provides the platform for that. Okay. It really is. Again, the understanding of what I'm pointing to is what enables you to do that. And you would be amazed at what you see. I wish I could show you some of the comments in the relatable private Facebook group. Some of the things that people are saying and sharing with each other. It blows my mind each and every day as people wake up to their own power and they see what's possible for them. It's truly, truly extraordinary. And of course, it's amazing for our relationships. Anyway, everyone, I've hit the 30-minute mark. I need to go. I have a client session coming, but thank you for all of your comments, everyone. I love reading them here. Thank you so much for your support. And I really, truly hope this has been helpful for you. I will be here next Friday. So if you have a question that you would like me to answer, you can send it to hello@fionalukis.com.au and I will do my absolute best to answer it for you. And if you want to know about my online program, Relatable, I'll obviously, because everyone always messages me about it afterwards, I will pop that in the comments below for you. Okay. So, if you want to have this more deeply in your life, if you really, truly want to understand what I'm referring to, this is what I teach in my program. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Lots of love to you all. See you all soon. Okay. Ciao.